Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. Well, this is not the South Africa I knew. Okay, I'm talking about, I was there up until 1986. Clearly, the place is in anarchy. And I've said this many times, but now you've got the Minister of Police who was targeted by the protesters at Senekal after the farm murder of that young man in the Free State. And Sele, after viewing the video clips and what went on at the Senekal courthouse and how a police car was turned over and it spontaneously caught alight, this was his response. Now, before I give his response, let's remember that there are riots. This was a protest, okay? That turning over the car, they were basically taunted. I mean, that police car nearly killed a woman and her young child, and that's why they turned it over on its side. They weren't going around like with these other protests in South Africa, burning and looting shops and stuff like that, where no one ever gets arrested. No. And Sele never says, you have to arrest those people. No, he doesn't, because of this. Now, what did Sele say after the protest by these gatvol farmers yesterday in Senecal? Well, this is what he said. Police Minister Becky Cele has called for the swift arrest of lawless protesters outside the Senecal Magistrates Court in the Free State on Tuesday morning. Farmers were protesting outside the court where two suspects appeared in connection with the murder of 22-year-old farm manager Brendan Horner. The protest turned violent after farmers attempted to get to the suspects in the court holding cells, leading to clashes with police, resulting in one police van being overturned and set alight. Now, that last paragraph is bullshit. That's not what happened. I said it before, and I'll tell you again what happened. What happened was the farmers wanted to be in the courtroom to witness and to make sure that the magistrate didn't let these two thugs, these killers, these murderers, out on bail. That's what they did. And they were in the courthouse here. They were probably gatvol and angry, and a policeman fired a few shots into the ceiling of the courthouse. That's what happened. The farmers were not armed. But as you'll see in the Enca report that's attached here, they talk about heavily armed farmers. Now, I have first-hand accounts of people who attended that protest. They were not heavily armed. They were going there peacefully to show that they were disgusted, not only in the way farmers are murdered, but in the complete incompetence of the South African Police Service. And now you've got the Minister of Police going after them. This is how corrupt this gangster state is. Let's continue with what this totally biased report by the Citizen has to say. Police reports indicate that following the brief court appearance, around 100 protesters, among them armed farmers, well, I never saw any arms, stormed into the court building demanding the suspects be handed over. Police had to use tear gas to disperse the violent group. Once again, that's bullshit. No tear gas was ever used. They used a couple of these stun bullets, whatever they are. The farmers call them fireworks because they're bloody useless. But they fired a couple of those into the farmers outside the courthouse. That's what happened. There were no stun, no tear gas fired. This is how crappy, how fake the mainstream media. We already out at News 24 over the story yesterday. The Citizen have picked up and accepted News 24's account, which is fake news. And now you've got Enca doing the same thing. So you've got three major media sources in South Africa all putting out fake news about what happened in Senegal. But getting back to the police minister, Cele has called on police to act swiftly and arrest those responsible. He said, while we all condemn the gruesome killing of this young man in Port Rue, absolutely no one has the right to take the law into their own hands, no matter what the situation. This type of cannot be justified nor taken lightly. So where was his comments when the EFF go out and they loot and they trash and they burn? He's as silent as a church mouse, because this guy is an absolute rabid racist. I'm talking about Bekele. He is also a corrupt man. He should not be the Minister of Police. He's also totally incompetent, and he represents right across the board what's happened in the ANC. This is why South Africa is effed, because you got these kind of incompetent no-hopers running the country. It's a complete and utter scandal. Anyway, Seller further questioned the demonstrators' motives when turning their anger towards the police. He said there is no logic when these protesters burn a police van, which is the same resource that is meant to assist them. Oh, meant to assist them? The farmers try and call out the police and they say, no, we're not going to go out there. The police are completely friggin' useless. That's the reality of the situation. No wonder the farmers are gatvol with the police. Anyway, he went on to say, this is Sel again, it is also baffling why the anger of the community is being directed towards the police when arrests have been made by the police and the suspects are before the courts. Well, look, you just have to look at my old videos and see how bloody useless, how corrupt, how absolutely effed the South African police services, thanks to Bekele. He is the guy who should be arrested. Let me show you another clip of a police van being rocked by the protesters, because they were just gatvol with the police. Let's have a look at that. Now, the latest news on this is that one white fellow from Senekal has actually now been arrested by the police. His name is Andre Pina, and he's a 52-year-old, and he was arrested earlier today, and he's been taken to Bethlehem, and the police, just to show, I guess a show of strength, 7 police vehicles arrived at his house to arrest him. 7 police vehicles. And that's the latest news, and they're now saying that they're going to be looking at other farmers that they want to arrest for their protest. This is going to ignite South Africa like nothing else. What Bekele and the police are doing is they are going to create a civil war, because this is so incredibly biased against the white population when you consider the complete lack of action against rioting, not protesting, not peaceful protesting, rioting blacks. Let's have a look at what Enke had to say about this, and you'll see how they pick up the fake news that was put out by News 24. Please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video. Please share this video. And above all, please stay safe. Bye for now.
In the Free State, a 52-year-old farmer has been arrested in connection with yesterday's violence outside a Senekal court. Protesters stormed the courthouse. Now, 2 men yesterday were appearing in connection with the murder of farm manager Brendan Horner. That occurred last Friday. Protesters are accused of damaging the court building and setting fire to a police van. Well, I'm joined now by the Police Minister spokesperson, Leranzo Tembo. Hello, Leranzo. Thank you very much for joining us. What can you tell us about this arrest of this 52-year-old today?
Well, thank you so much, Sally, for having me. Well, the minister in his statement last night basically called on the arrest of the people that have been responsible for these chaotic scenes that unfolded, as we saw yesterday. And of course, a high-level team was put together to basically look at all possible leads and find those people and bring them to book. And we are really glad to announce that the first arrest has been made. a 52-year-old farmer has been arrested. We believe that he is from the Senekal area, and he has a case to answer to with regards to the alleged torching of the police vehicle. And as you've mentioned in your intro, we are expecting more results similar to this one.
Can you give us any sort of timeline? How many people are you pursuing at this stage?
The fact that this suspect is not going to be appearing in court tomorrow gives us an indication that, arrests are quite imminent. As I've mentioned, that a team has been put together that also includes the crime intelligence as well as the DPCI, just to look at all possible leads. We know that there's plenty of footage that exists from yesterday, which the police will be relying on as well, Sally, to make sure that these people, all demonstrators, who, by the way, were heavily armed yesterday, are really brought to book, because not only did they undermine the rule of law, but at the same time, they really demanded to get inside the police cells and get these two suspects that appeared for the murder of Mr. Honor to be handed over to them. And we wonder what would have happened if they got their way. So thankfully, there was reinforcement from the police service, and the situation was contained, albeit after the torching as well as the vandalism of the court property.
Yeah. So my understanding then from what you're saying is that the reason this 52-year-old might not appear in court tomorrow is that you're waiting for more arrests and then they will appear as a group. Am I correct?
Absolutely, Sally. We are really confident that there will be more arrests. In fact, the minister has called for more arrests, saying that these actions were not done by a single person. Evidence suggests that it was a collective effort that really seeked to undermine the rule of law, and there will be more arrests to follow.
All right. Could you give us an indication of the kind of charges that this 52-year-old farmer and others who are likely to be arrested soon will face? Because, as you say, they were heavily armed, but also they attacked courthouse property, they attacked police property. Does that carry a more serious charge than if they'd perhaps attacked an individual's car?
Absolutely. We've seen in the past that people that have had a similar charge have been taken away for about over 5 years, Sally. So it is quite a serious charge that is being faced here. But more than anything, they will be charged for damage to property as well as, public violence. So I think as the investigations wrap up, we will be seeing more charges being added or being abstracted. But for now, the fact that this 52-year-old farmer has a case to answer to, which is one of his alleged involvement in the torching of this police vehicle. But more than anything, I think it really speaks to the minister, who has time and time again, and of course also what we've seen when we saw these protests emanating from the Clicks advert, is that, just calling on South Africans to, yes, exercise their right to demonstrate, but ensure that they do it responsibly, because it is not absolute, Sally. People have to be responsible for what they do, and they also have to ensure that there are no damages to property and so forth, because if that is the case, they will have to face the full might of the law.
And, it's an interesting one, Lorenzo, because of the racial element. Straight after the news about the farmers attacking the courthouse, the EFF came out and said it's absolutely outrageous that these arrests have not been made. There's clearly one set of rules for white protesters and another for black protesters. And I was just going to check with you whether the police minister condemned the protests outside the courthouse yesterday as strongly as he condemned what happened outside Clicks, where we saw businesses firebombed.
Absolutely. The minister was disgusted, Sally, about what happened yesterday. In his statement, very heavily worded, saying that this sort of anarchy and lawlessness cannot be repeated. And of course, as much as there are those inferences of color, we received a full report from the Free State as to why the police acted the way they did yesterday regarding this group of armed demonstrators, many of which were farmers who were armed with pistols and live ammunition, without putting too much violence. But it's like it would have been like bringing a knife to a gunfight, Sally, where we saw police officers who were armed with rubber bullets being confronted by individuals that are carrying live ammunition. So it was dealt with as best as it could. At the moment, there was a call for reinforcement. And we're quite happy as a police service and as a police ministry that what was done at the time was really to safeguard the people that were obviously around.
Sure.
And to just ensure that there's no much further bloodshed. But of course, this doesn't stop the police from continuing with the investigations and making sure that those people, those individuals that brought that town to a standstill and creating all those chaotic scenes are brought to book. And this is what we are really encouraged by. And this first arrest is definitely going to be one of many.
Thank you very much, Leranzo Tembo, who speaks for our police minister, making the point that it was a highly volatile situation and police had to handle it very carefully because, as the police brigadier we spoke to yesterday, he said there were possibly as many as 1,000 protesters, but only a small group of them engaged in the violent activity, and those are the ones who the police are hot on the heels of one arrest.